Sideline, episode 165, coming at you here from the University Center here on campus, the longest running show on UView. We're going to start off with some softball action. They were in play this past week. Let's go to the graphic here. That's going to tell you what happened with them. They're going to start off playing their conference rival, IU Southeast, their first ever conference play in this stew play, trying to get it started off on the right foot, but the Pioneers would not get it started on the right foot there, Kyle, as we bring you into the stew here. Kyle Anthony, our softball analyst, losing 5-3 and then 5-4. But then you see against Brescia a few days later, they throw a one-hitter. So the line can throw in the one-hitter. Pioneers win 1-0. Game 2, they win 2-0 behind Reese, who throws a two-hitter. Kyle, we've seen it all season. The pitching up and down, the bats up and down. You see it right there, 5-3. They get run support, but the pitching isn't there. And in the pitching, pitches 2 straight shutouts, but in 2 games combined, they only get 3 runs.
Yeah, I mean, the first 2 games, they got what they needed out of the bats, but again, they didn't get what they needed out of the pitching. In the second 2 games, they had a reversal. Their pitching played absolutely awesome, but their bats didn't come up. So, that could become a problem later in the season, because to go far in the tournament, you're going to need to get both those things working.
And this is a team that has a lot of veteran players here, Kyle. They have a lot of solid bats. They have Ashley Moran, a very solid hitter that can drive in anyone. They have Amanda Ardinger, a senior on a team. They now return everybody from the basketball season. They now add Teresa Davis to the squad. So the Pioneers here really, they need to start getting it clicking. If the pitching can really pitch 2 straight shutout games, but you only score 3 runs, you're going to win when your team pitches a shutout, but only 3 runs in 2 games. That's really asking a lot of your pitching staff.
Yeah, it's great when your pitching staff shows up and has a game like a one-hitter or a two-hitter, but you're not going to get that every game. So that's why you need the consistency out of your bats to kind of back them up so you don't have to rely on them to maybe throw a one-hitter or a two-hitter. Because if the pitchers start putting too much pressure on themselves, they're going to throw way too many pitches, and they're going to start throwing a lot of pitches over the strike zone, and that'll be more hits for the other team.
Now, before we go a little bit different in pitching, being very good in those last 2 games, before that, not so good when they did get the run support, Kyle. They finally get 3-4 runs, but they give up 5 in both games. But they do give it up to an IU Southeast team who's been receiving votes and is the preseason favorite coming out of the KIAC.
Yeah, it's a good IU Southeast team, but as we saw, with the runs they were scoring, the games were competitive. So if they would have got some pitching, those games they might have been able to win or maybe close the gap in those. So, this team's definitely not far behind the team that's picked that could be number 1 in the conference.
Now, they did recover against Brescia with the 2 straight shutouts. They're very good. The pitching being pitcher perfect there. And that's really good to see how this squad, to really rebound. You give up 2 straight losses where you give up 5 runs to come back and throw a combined 3 hits in 2 games. It's really said something about this squad, though, coming off of the tough losses to IU Southeast.
Yeah, it shows this squad has a lot of fight in them, and they don't get down on themselves after they lose 1 or 2 games because they know the next game, next series is a different series. So, that's definitely a good thing going through the rest of the season because it shows they'll be able to go through these growing pains and be able to succeed.
And you have to also look at a lot of these games have been on the road, Kyle. They've yet to really play at home too much due to the weather up here. Most of the games have been postponed or canceled due to the weather being cold or snowy and the field just not being in the right condition. So this team, being where they are, they're a few games above 500, and all that's coming on the road. So that's a real good start for them to start this season before they've played not even 1 home game all year.
Yeah, it's good for this team. It shows that they can really play anywhere, and they have no problem playing anywhere. That's kind of the problem playing in Pennsylvania. You get cold weather the first couple months. You don't have a lot of time to play up here. But they did get to play a lot of games in the South, so they still got to play some. It shows they're very versatile and able to play anywhere.
And they're going to have a loaded schedule. Most of their home games are going to be in the month of April, and especially with these postponed games, going to be moved to the month of April. Kyle, that's a lot of home games the Pioneers can look forward to. They competed with these teams on the road. They defeated Brescia, swept them on the road, competed against IU Southeast, pushed them on the road. So really, they can come back home, take this team on, and if they can get it done on the home field out in Kennedy Township, Lynn Field there, the Pioneers, they can really find themselves sitting pretty in the KIAC here.
Yeah, if they get things done the way they did in the road earlier in the season and at this point, they should be able to go very far, and their record should put them in top 1 or 2 in the KIAC. And it would definitely make teams scared to come play in Pittsburgh.
Now, the consistency we talked about every week here, Kyle, really, what do the Pioneers have to do to get themselves consistent? Because you really can't keep doing this roller coaster ride of have bats on one day, pitching on the next. Really, when they have both on, they're a very solid team, but we just haven't really seen that too much this season.
You know what? That's that's a real mental block. I mean, that's just maybe the hitters maybe thinking, okay, we can rely on the pitchers for this game, or the pitcher saying, you know what, we can rely on the hitters. They'll have our backs. So, I mean, they just got to get everything working, just a mental thing.
Yeah, the Pioneers, they continue their season and look to keep it going here in their first year of the KIAC. Thanks for good stuff as always, Kyle. We're going to take a short commercial break, be back with baseball action, and Phil Novacic as the Pioneers are in action with the baseball side as well. Don't go anywhere. You're watching the Pioneer Sideline here on UView.